Hi, welcome back to Jump Into Life. I hope you enjoyed the episode that I posted last episode, which was Marriage Over Love. This episode is more interesting. Well, not more interesting. All of my episodes are interesting. This is more insightful because this is entitled Duty to Serve. And after thinking about it this morning, I should have named it Behind a Badge because so many people see law enforcement officers and don't know what's really behind them. They're individuals, they're human beings, and they have struggles and they have mental health issues. And so I have a police chief who I will introduce shortly, who's going to explain the support system that are behind that, some of the stresses and challenges of personally and professionally becoming a police officer. And so I want you to after this episode, I want you to look at police officers in a different light. Not all of them are bad. A lot of them are very, very good. And a lot of them just need support from the community. So that's why I'm doing this episode. You can follow me on Blue Sky. I also have a website where you can purchase merchandise such as what I'm wearing today. And my website is jumpintolife.com. I'm all the you can get all my episodes on Spotify. You can look at them on YouTube and every other platform there is. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to my guest, Chief Hawthorne. Let me give you just a little bit of his background. I don't know if he's Jamaican, because he's at a lot of
I think Ancestry said I had some Jamaican somewhere.
Okay, so he's part Jamaican. Chief Hawthorne, let me go through your extensive background.
Yes, sir.
He's became a police officer in 1985. He spent 28 years with the Arlington Police Department, and when he retired, he was the assistant chief over patrol operations. Last assignment was overseeing Community Support Bureau. Now, before becoming police chief, this is where I say he must be Jamaican. He was a patrol officer, detective, hostage negotiator supervisor, school resource officer, crime prevention officer, and later crime prevention supervisor. He worked in personnel and recruiting and supervised the media office. So, Jamaican chief, Arthur, welcome to the show.
You're glad to be here.
So, I have to say something interesting. Let me ask you, what was more challenging, being a school resource officer or a hostage negotiator?
Well, hostage negotiator was much more challenging than being a school resource officer. I think, I talked about that with you previously. Being a school resource officer, you have a lot of positive interactions with individuals, unlike a regular cop. When we're going about our day-to-day business, because we often are intervening in people's lives when the stress of the day or whatever moment they're having, they can't deal with it.
Yeah.
Their ability to cope, they've exceeded their ability to cope. So they call the police in, and then we have to come in and kind of mitigate and help navigate that situation for them. And oftentimes it could be just somebody broke into my house.
Yeah.
For the cop, that's a routine report, but for the person going through that situation, there's nothing routine about that. You feel like you've been violated. It's probably one of the worst days of your life.
Yeah. And
so we get to intervene or get to come in and assist and help the public in that capacity, but understanding that we're interacting with them in a very trying time for them.
Yeah.
And so being in the schools and having positive interactions with people, trying to help them make good life decisions and stuff like that, is a lot more rewarding anyway. You end the day and go home feeling like you've made a contribution to help some person, male or female, make better decisions in their life.
Yeah.
And that's always a good feeling.
Okay, I would think hostage negotiator would have been easier.
No,
the kids these days, wow, they're different than when we grew up.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, we negotiated a person. When you were talking about, I think negotiation would be easier, right?
Yeah.
Well, I get a call. The first call that I get as a negotiator, I get called out on the scene, and it's a former Major League Baseball player who's high on cocaine. He's nude in the parking lot and has a gun in his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the first call that I had to go on as a hostage negotiator.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. So we're doing a face-to-face negotiation, which means I'm standing a few feet from this guy with a gun in his mouth.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to him, trying to get him to take the gun out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And not kill himself. More importantly,
not kill you too.
Yeah, not kill me too.
Yeah.
You know. So when you compare or contrast those two situations, school, being a school resource officer, a lot more positive. You know.
What made you become a police officer? That's an interesting career because it's dangerous.
It's dangerous. At the time, I was looking for something that was going to pay me a little bit more. I was a reporter. I was a radio reporter.
Okay.
And so I was looking for something that was going to be a little more financially lucrative. And I was looking, what could I do and still keep the same, use the same skill sets, if you will. And so as a reporter, I wrote stories, right? I had to write a story that was going to go on the air. I had to interview people. Mm-hmm. I was out in the field, not confined behind a desk. And so I thought the police work offered some of those same type of opportunities for me, because I'm not good at working behind a desk, although I'm a chill a lot of that, you know. Yeah. But I was looking for something at the time that was going to afford me some of the same things, you know. And so I thought about police work. I did some ride outs with some police officers here in Fort Worth, spent some time at the police academy and just hanging out with some of the officers.
I know you can do that, kind of test out the field before you jump into it.
Well, you know, you can do ride-alongs. Okay. A lot of places, you know, offer ride-alongs. And when I was a police officer, I had people who came and rode out with me, and some decided it was a career for them. Some decided I don't ever want to do that again. Yeah. You know, and so you know, I was intrigued by the work. I thought there was an opportunity to have a positive interaction with the community and change the community. Yeah. Similar to being a reporter, I thought I was going to write the stories or do the stories that were going to change the world or impact the world. You know.
So you're an optimist.
Yeah, I'm a real optimist, right? And so.
Are you now?
I'm still an optimist.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I thought there was an opportunity, you know, even to do that in police work, because I could go into a community, and through my work, my interaction with those individuals on the beat, I could have a positive impact on individuals in my community through doing the work that I do. Okay. A couple of things that I had to prepare myself for, though, mentally, in order to be able to do the job. I had to come to grips with I may go to work and I may have to take somebody's life. Yeah. And or I may go to work and I may not come home. Yeah. And so once I psychologically got myself past that, where I felt like that I could accept that as part of the job and perform in the job, then I was able to you know, to do that, you know. And it took me a minute.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. And you know, funny story, the guys used to tease me at Arlington after I came to work. I was in field training, and I was still I went through the police academy. I was president of my academy class. Okay. Gave my speech, got out in field training, and I'm still wrestling with whether or not I really want to be a police officer. Yeah. So we go on to a call, and it's a prowler call. Somebody thinks that somebody's in their house. We go to the call as the police do. I'm a trainee. We set up a perimeter around the house, and it's my job and my partner's job to go in, and if somebody's in there, apprehend them or flush them out, and the guys in the perimeter will catch them. So we're devising our plan of what we're going to do, and I'm going to go right. My training officer's going to go left, and we split up the house, and I look at him, and I say, well, don't you think we need to call the police? Yeah. And he said, Hawthorne, we are the police. I said, oh. So that was a moment. That was a moment. And when I was in field training, where, you know, I had to do it. And so that got me past that hump.
I didn't expect that ending, but that's a funny story.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't just like, hey, I'm turning in my badge and God, this is not it.
Well, don't think I thought about it.
Yeah.
I thought about it. Do I really want to do this? Right?
Yeah.
Because you can say all of those things. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm psychologically prepared. I'm this and I'm that. But when it hits you, when it faces you, and it's the reality, it hits different.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought that up because there's a lot of stories about police officers who get called on an active shooter scene, and two high profile situations. The most recent, Uvalde, Texas, and one in Florida. You don't know what you're gonna do until you face that situation, like you were saying.
Right.
What's your opinion on it? Is it fair for a police officer to just say, you know what, I'm gonna just hold off. I'm not going there because I want to go home. I don't want to risk my life, because like you don't know until you're in those situations how you're gonna react. Is it fair for them to have that make that decision, like I'm gonna choose me over the community I'm supposed to serve?
No, that's never an option.
Okay.
Not once you sign the. It is true that people don't know how they're going to respond until they get into the situation, but that's never an acceptable response, ever. And I can go to a story that I'm thinking of. When I was a patrol officer, I got dispatched to a call. It was a domestic, and I roll up. And I'm waiting on my backup because we're trained to go in with your backup officer.
Yeah.
But as I'm sitting and waiting on my backup officer to arrive, I hear this blood-curdling scream coming from inside the house. And neighbors are coming outside. People are looking, right? What's going on? And they see me sitting in my car. And so what are you going to do, officer? So I made the decision to go into the house. I didn't wait for my backup.
Yeah.
I get into the house, and I see a lady holding a butcher knife over a guy, and looks like she's about to stab him. And so I draw my gun. I tell her to drop the knife.
Yeah.
She sees me. She picks up another butcher knife, and she starts running in my direction. She's holding both knives over her head and running toward me. In that moment, I would have been justified if I had shot her.
Yeah.
But as she was running toward me, her husband yelled at her, "Honey, drop it, because he's going to kill you."
And this is the same guy who was underneath her when she tried to stab him.
It's her husband, right? And so when he yells that to her, she turns her head toward him. And in that brief moment, in that brief second that happened, I made a decision to act.
Okay.
Because I was a defensive tactics instructor also. So when she looked away, I holstered my weapon and charged her.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got her to the ground. And when I flung her to the ground, she dropped one of the knives, and then I was able to apply a pressure point control tactic that I was trained to do to get her to drop the other knife, right? Yeah. So then I cuffed her, and people said, "Yeah, James, that was good. You're a hero, blah blah blah, But in that same instance, right? Had she killed me, the narrative would have been, why did I put myself in that position?
Right.
Because I should have waited for my backup.
Yeah.
Right. And so all of these things are split-second decisions. And as an officer, going back to your original thing, we have to act. We don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I have to go in there and save somebody's life. If I had just sat out in the car and I heard this screaming, and this guy is, when I go in the house, he's gone, right? The public is going to say, well, this officer pulled up.
Yeah.
He heard this happening, and he didn't do anything.
Right.
So we know when we sign on that it's a risky business.
Yeah.
And that we're literally putting our life on the line when we have to respond to some of these calls. But that's what we signed up to do. And if you and police work is not for everybody, right? And going through the course of that, if you decide that you can't do it, more power to you. Everybody can't do the job. If I, as a young rookie, on my second call, if I had decided, hey, I can't go into that house, I need to walk away from this. There's no shame in that. It's understanding what my limitations were at that
would have
time.
been my limitation.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But we sign into a job. We know it's dangerous. We know there's a risk of us losing our lives.
Yeah.
But that's what we signed up to do.
How do police officers handle that kind of stress? Because I'm listening to you, and then I'm remembering the TV shows, cop shows,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a lot of times at the end of the shift they go to a bar, and it's usually owned by a police officer. The general
Mm-hmm.
narrative
Mm-hmm.
and stereotype.
Right.
Is that true though?
I've never seen one of those.
Okay.
I see them on TV and in the movies, but I've never actually seen one.
So it's no cop bar.
Not to my knowledge.
Well, the narrative shows like the day is stressful. We need to go and knock off a few beers, kind of kind of balance ourselves out. I mean, what in your experience and your capacity, different types of management, sergeant, detective, and chief, and all that. How do officers deal with that stress at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, and you packed a lot into what you just said. Back in the day, when I hired on, I was in field training again, right? And first accident, fatality accident that I had been dispatched to in training.
Yeah.
So a guy runs into a telephone pole, cuts his body in half. So my job as the rookie, hey rookie, get inside that car and get the guy's wallet so we know who he is.
They send you in a horrific scene.
Yeah, send me to go inside the car to get this guy's wallet out of his pants pocket, who's cut in half.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that either if I was a senior officer.
Yeah, give that to the rookie.
Give it to the rookie.
Right. So I go in there and get it, and so now, think about that. I'm in a situation where a person's body is cut in half. I'm reaching into their back pocket to retrieve a wallet. Then we're expected to write the police report, do the accident report, and then go on to the next call.
Yeah, you can't get over that.
When back in the day, you go into a situation where
the next door. How did you handle that? Because that's how do you get over that? I mean, you just saw somebody get cut in half, touch their physical body to get the ID to verify. What did you go home and go to sleep?
No, well, we literally cleared the call when we were through, and we went back to work and went on for the rest of our night.
No debriefing, no mental health.
No, none of that.
Wow.
That's just how things were back in the day.
Wow.
You were expected to do it, and it was frowned upon if you had any, feeling about that.
Wow.
And of course that's totally not acceptable.
Yeah.
That's totally not how we look at that today, because instances of suicide with police officers, I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I do know that the statistics are high.
Yeah.
For police officers in terms of suicide, in terms of alcoholism, drug use, all of that type of stuff, because of their coping mechanisms to deal with some of the traumatic stuff.
Yeah.
They're not good coping
Right.
mechanisms, so you mentioned that, infidelity that goes on, just all sorts of things that happen to them trying to cope with situations, not making good choices at all, but that's how they were choosing to deal with those situations. And so of course in today's time, we still have some old schools that hold on to that.
Old school police chiefs,
old school police officers who's still around, and don't believe in that type of therapy, mental health awareness, but the profession has progressed so much past that. Mm-hmm. When I was a deputy chief in Arlington, if officers experience a traumatic situation or something like that, I made it mandatory that they go through a critical incident stress debriefing with professional counselors.
Okay.
We bring professional counselors into the room, have them talk about the call, have them talk about how they felt about it, and if they wanted some one-on-one attention or one-on-one time, with the counselor, they could do that in confidentiality.
Okay.
And there's no stigma attached to it because it's done anonymously. And there's a bevy of EAP programs, employee assistance programs, that we also offer the officers, and all of that's in confidentiality, and we encourage and push them to take advantage of those resources. And so, but even though we have the resources available and we push it out to them, still sometimes people are reluctant to do it. So we have to create a culture, the way we talk about it, our language with our officers, to make them feel like it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah. So you say create a culture. How do you create a culture to make it safe? Because it's really feeling safe to go and get the help.
Well, I think you have to make it a part of their regular routine, right? When they have a critical incident, right?
Okay.
This is just part of what we do, right? We talk about it. We bring in counselors and we talk about the situation. So I think that kind of helps to erode some of the negativity or the stigmas that may be attached to it, because it just becomes part of the routine thing of what we do all the time.
Okay.
And we recognize we're doing it because we're trying to take care of the mental health of our police officers. And I mentioned to you earlier when before we were taping, how I just had a friend of mine who was a retired officer who just committed suicide last week.
Yeah.
And so
how many years was he on the force?
Over 30 years.
Wow. So he's seen a lot.
Seen a lot, experienced a lot, and it's unfortunate that he made that decision. We had the example of just maybe 3-4 months ago, 4 Houston Harris County Sheriff's deputies committed suicide in 1 month.
4?
4.
Wow.
So the pressures of the job and the anxiety and just all of the stuff that you see can take a toll on you over a period of time. And the message that we have with dealing with our first responders who go out there and have to actually deal with it firsthand is that it can affect you. It's okay if you're not okay with that, right? And I remember a call I went on. I actually responded to a friend of mine who I knew, grew up with. He had actually killed himself and killed his 2 sons. And so I responded to the call not knowing it was him.
Yeah.
And I go inside the house and I see him and recognize him, immediately.
Yeah.
And then go into the bedroom and see the 2 boys in the bed, and one of them partially skull was blown away, and he's still holding on to his teddy bear as he's laying in the bed.
That's got to be a rough scene.
Yeah, he's 4 years old.
Yeah.
And so how can that not impact you? How can you not feel something when you see something like that?
Yeah.
And so recognizing that officers routinely go and see those types of things, it's okay if that bothers you. It should bother you.
Yeah, I'm not a cop, and it bothered me just hearing it.
Yeah, it should bother you. And so it's okay to reach out and talk to somebody about that.
Yeah.
And so we have to incorporate that into the way that we do our daily business. Our routine business should be taking care of the officers and their mental health.
Listening to you describe the routine nature of what it should be, it seems like it's going to be like a generational type of fix, like 10 or 20, 30 years for it to become a normal routine, because you have the old guard who still hold on to just tough it out, sleep it off.
I don't think so, because over the last 30 years or so, I've seen the profession progress a whole lot when it comes to that type of stuff. We have mental health police officers on police departments now whose job is to protect the mental health of the people that they're working with. And so in recognition that people are suffering and they go through those types of things, we created those opportunities within the organizations. You probably can't find many police departments that don't have a mental health program. And it's something that we talk about all the time. And we talk about it in terms of dealing with the mental health of officers, but also talk about it in terms of the new generation of people that we're trying to attract into the force, right? Some of these people, the young people coming in, they don't want to do it like
they don't want to pull a gun or shoot people. Or
well, they don't.
That's part of the job.
they recognize I need to take off from work.
Oh,
I need some time.
Yeah,
and we need to give them some time. And it may not be because of a stressful situation that they've encountered.
That's what I was thinking about.
It may just be because they realize that I need to incorporate mental health days into my work routine.
Yeah.
And as a police department, we should embrace that because they're right. It may not have been the way that we did it,
yeah,
but the way that they're doing it is right. And maybe they saw us and said, we don't want to be like that. And so we should embrace that, should embrace the way that they want to embrace the work. And if they want to take a day or two off and they have the time,
yeah,
and they want to go to New York with their wife to watch a play, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Let them have the time.
Yeah.
It makes for a more productive employee.
Yeah. I know you mentioned before the show that you have a de-stress or something, debriefing or something that you made mandatory or going to make mandatory. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. I mentioned that just a little earlier, but yeah, when officers go on a call, well, I'll go back, is in 1984, I believe, before I was a police officer. I was a news reporter, and I covered I was, I think, one of the second reporter, maybe second or third reporter on the scene of the Delta 191 crash.
Mm-hmm.
So I get out there, I get out of the car to cover the crash as a reporter, and the first thing that I see when I get out of the car, because I asked my partner to let me out so I could go down where the crash site was. I get out of the car, and the first thing I see is a car that's crushed on the freeway. The guy inside the car is decapitated, and so I run.
Like
I see
plane
it.
Severed.
Yeah.
Wow.
The we know now the landing gear of the plane came down onto the freeway and hit that car before it went into the airport and crashed. So that's the first thing I see. I run down across the freeway, run down the hill there, all the security gates and all that normally would, prevent people from entering. All that's gone because the plane has taken it all out.
Yeah.
So I get down there and I see, body parts, just everything, real gruesome scene. Looks like a scene out of a battlefield. And I don't assist. I don't know what I could have done anyway.
Yeah.
So I pull out my tape recorder and I start reporting the scene, as a news reporter. So a year later or so, I'm covering this new thing that the fire department in Fort Worth was doing. It was new at the time, critical incident stress debriefing. So they invited the reporters to come down and see how they institute this program to help the firefighters who are experiencing symptoms or responding to real stressful situations, seeing some real gruesome stuff.
Yeah.
How do they deal with that? How do they process that? How do they take care of the firefighters? And so in going through that training or watching them go through that training, I recognize that I'm experiencing some of the same symptoms that they are.
Yeah.
Because I didn't relate it to the 191 crash. But then as I was able to process that, I thought about, I'm experiencing stuff from what I saw in that 191 crash. And so I had a kind of a personal connection that I could make or relate to officers when they see that type of stuff. And maybe the officer doesn't even think about I'm dealing with things, and I'm having maybe I'm processing it, and I'm starting to drink alcohol, hang out, do things that are not healthy, right? Because they don't even recognize that they are experiencing symptoms of going through a traumatic incident.
Yeah.
And so that's why I made it it was an unwritten policy, but it was something that I made the officers do after they went through a traumatic incident, to have those critical incident stress debriefings.
That's in your current department. I know you mentioned Arlington.
That was in Arlington.
Okay. And your department now, what
we
do
do
you
the same thing.
Do the same thing. Okay. All right. So that's interesting that you brought up, as a reporter, you realize the same symptoms that the officers may have been or were experiencing, seeing a traumatic incident like that. It's, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
Is in your program, do you have is there a situation where you have like a department-wide briefing where things like that are discussed, and then an officer may realize, you know what, I didn't know I had those symptoms. Let me go and take advantage of this this briefing program or
Yeah, we do annual
counseling.
training on
Okay.
that, and we talk about, we always push, you know, critical incident stress debriefings and stuff like that. And I thought it was interesting. And I thought it was interesting that a couple of years ago we had a child choked to death on a corny dog in one of the elementary campuses. And and as you can imagine, the staff who responded to that, the assistant principals, nurses, and all of those, to watch a child die
Yeah.
in the cafeteria, that was very traumatic for them. And so I applied the same techniques, if you will, or the same process with that staff as we would a police officer. So
Yeah.
we had them, as a group, go and do critical incident stress debriefing with counselors, and I think that helped them a lot, to be able to talk about that and process that. There was a lot of fallout from that. When I say fallout, people who left the job
Yeah.
because they didn't come to work expecting. You're a teacher. You don't come to work and expect to see a child die in the cafeteria.
Right.
In police work we see that, but as a teacher or a cafeteria worker, you're not expecting to see that. And so that was very traumatic for them, and we lost a lot of good people, because that's just not something that they signed up for. They didn't want to see that.
Yeah.
And it affected them in a way that they felt like they needed a break.
I don't want to scare you, but it's scaring me becoming a police officer. But we're going to talk about the positive aspects of being a police officer with Chief Hawthorne. But don't let what he's describing out. We're just talking about the personal, professional challenges. Speaking of personal challenges, you mentioned some of them. Can you go into some of the personal challenges for you of becoming a police officer?
Yeah, I'll say this. When I first became a police officer, they my annual salary was $22,000 a year.
Okay.
And
I hope
rich.
that was in 1888. When that was a lot of money.
1985.
So that wasn't a lot of money.
And I was rich. No, I was rich.
Oh, that was a lot of money.
Oh yeah, I was ready to call mom and tell her she don't have to work no more.
Okay.
I'm making $22,000 a year. Had never made that much money in my life.
Yeah.
And so coming in, I felt like it was elevated. I'm able to take care of my bills. I got money. I'm not living paycheck to paycheck. Life is good. And then you want a little more. You have an opportunity to make a little more. You can work part-time jobs. You can make as much money as you want. Working part-time jobs. And so what I caution people, and I tell them because of my own personal experience, you have those opportunities, and then if you're not careful, you find yourself in a situation where now your bill payments, because of the way that you've adapted your lifestyle or elevated your lifestyle, is dependent upon those part-time jobs.
Okay.
And those part-time jobs can come and go.
Yeah.
And if you lose a part-time job for whatever reason, now you're in a situation where I don't know if I can pay my bills.
Yeah.
And so part-time jobs are extra income, and they should be just like, that's what they should be thought of.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of young officers make that mistake. You base your lifestyle on your salary. Your part-time job is your trip money.
Yeah.
I want to do, you get your toys with that type of stuff, but you don't base your life income, your ability to pay bills, on part-time jobs, because if you do that, you're in an endless cycle where you're always working.
Mm-hmm.
You're not at home. You're not spending time with family because you're always working, and that can have an impact, make a marriage very challenging, because you're never there.
Right.
And so that's a challenge, and that was a personal challenge that I had. I needed the money because I put myself in a situation where now I got to have part-time jobs to survive.
Right.
And so we caution officers, don't do that. Don't put yourself in that situation, because that's very stressful.
Right.
And you don't have control over the part-time income. Oftentimes somebody may need you, then they say, hey, well, we don't need security up here anymore.
Right.
And now what do?
Right.
So that's a challenge. And then, making sure that we say, don't succumb to the temptations of the job, and when I say that, we used to have officers that would put on their uniform to go eat.
Okay.
Because they're gonna get a free meal if they got the uniform on. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's just that's not kosher.
Yeah.
It makes all of us look bad.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to do it and they give it to you. It's another thing to do it and they don't offer the free meal, and then you make a fuss about it. Hey, I was supposed to get my meal for free.
Yeah.
I've seen people do that, and that's just, don't do that.
What are some of the professional challenges of being a police officer? We talked about a little bit of some of the mental stress, mental anguish situation when you place in situations or scenes where you see horrific things, but we touched a little bit about that. But what are some of the other professional challenges of being a police officer? Because we don't want to scare people who want to become a police, but we want to be real with them as well.
Yeah, well, I'll say, being a police officer is a very rewarding, for me anyway. It's been a very rewarding career because I've been able to put myself in situations where I feel like I've been a benefit and I've really helped the community.
Okay.
And I've, done things that have helped the city and the department navigate difficult situations that could have turned ugly, could have had riots, people protesting on the streets. But because of my relationships, I guess, or partnerships that I have with some community organizations, churches, and whatnot, we were able to navigate those situations, have difficult conversations, but real conversations, and not have those things turn into things that are ugly, that tarnish the city, or tarnish the police department, or, or tarnish a community, And so being able to sit in a chair and have a direct impact on that, I think has been positive in a lot of ways. And I felt like that through that work that I did, I was able to provide value, to the community.
Yeah.
And so having more and more of those opportunities to get out and do that type of stuff and have people see me in a uniform, being successful in my career, maybe would inspire or could inspire other people to want to do the same thing. So having people that look like me go into the profession, and I think that's always helpful because as a police department, we want to have officers who reflect the community.
Yeah.
And so, and I know several people who've come to me and say, "Hey, I'm a police officer right now because I used to be my school resource officer. I used to see you when I was in junior high school."
Yeah.
Makes me feel really old, when they say that, But they tell me they remember me from back then, and they liked the way that I carried myself, and it made them want to be a police officer. So I have several friends. I call them friends now, not kids. They're friends now, and because they are police officers. And I was in police chief training a few weeks ago, and one of those kids is a police chief.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so we sat and we talked together, and we were talking about when he was in middle school and the conversations we used to have as me and a daughter and he a child, and how that influenced him to want to go into police work. And so again, going back to having opportunities to positively impact people, I think that's when I walk away from the job and knowing that I've left a legacy, like that, where people remember me for the help that I provided, or inspired them to want to do something better.
Right.
Then I'm grateful for that. So but the challenges that we face, I would say, as a chief and working in a chief level, you spend a lot of time with labor organizations who
They're
believe
pretty powerful group.
they're powerful groups, right? And then we try to approach them with the understanding that because I'm a chief and you're labor, we don't have to have an adversarial relationship. They want an adversarial relationship, it feels like to me in a lot of instances, but it doesn't have to be that way. It's about coming to the table, having communication, me understanding what you want, and you understanding what I want as an administrator, as a chief, and then what my limitations are, and then we work around those parameters to get what you want. Everybody wants to come to work and be happy at work,
right?
And we, as a supervisor, I want you to be happy at work, but there are limitations on what I can do.
It seems like in your position and what you described today as far as debriefing programs, do you find that the union push back when you want to implement things like that, or have a work-life balance situation?
No, I have never found that unions do that. They're very supportive of that, and we just try to find more opportunities for that to happen.
So you gotta just go about the money piece.
Yeah. Well, trying to find more ways and opportunities for that to happen. And I think where the unions get involved, they just want to make sure there's confidentiality behind that, and there are no repercussions for an individual who wants to seek out and have help. Not a supervisor coming back and say, well, he didn't handle it so well, so maybe he doesn't need to do this job. And I haven't seen any instances where supervisors have actually done that. I haven't personally seen that. There may be stories or something like that, but I haven't seen it. But I think and they're protective of that, and they should be.
They should be.
Yeah, they should be.
They should be.
And so we try to make sure that when we're talking with unions, that we're coming from a place where we're trying to help you. There are no tricks here.
Right.
There's full transparency, and we're doing it from a place where we're trying to help. And I think when they see that we're legitimate in trying to provide those avenues for them, then they're good with it. But it takes some conversation and some transparency on our part, and then them not trusting our word but verifying our word that it's not a I got you process. Then they're more apt to support that. Yeah.
Speaking of trust, why do you think there's a different perception of policing or police officers in affluent and non-affluent communities?
Well, I mean, honestly, if you look at the history of policing, police departments have, if we're being honest, we have a poor track record in minority communities, and that's not me talking. You just do the research. And so, communities of color, who over years and years and decades of mistreatment, they don't trust. And they have a reason not to trust. And it's our job to put things in place so that we try to capture or build trust back. Because I can't come in as a chief and say, man, hey, I'm here now, so everything is good. This community has experienced 60 years of unfair treatment. Who am I?
Right.
I'm just a guy talking.
Unless you walk on water and can feed 12,000 people for a little
right.
bit.
Exactly.
You gotta do more.
Yeah. So they want to see that. They want to see that in action. They want to see that process in place. And so a lot of police departments have implemented things like that they call procedural justice. And I'm not going to get all into the weeds of procedural justice, but basically, you may not agree with some decisions that I make. And in those times when we don't agree, you walk away from that experience feeling like that you were treated fairly, that you were heard. I don't necessarily like the answer, but I get where you're coming from. I understand why you are making the decisions that you make.
In a respectful, articulate way where they can say you were fair to me.
Right, and so there has to be full transparency behind that. We can't hide things. And an example of what I would give to that, in the name of being more transparent to a community, we adopted body cameras.
Okay.
Because now, you remember the Rodney King thing, right?
Right,
And
yeah.
somebody captured that on video, and people were shocked, right?
Yeah.
But the people in the minority community weren't shocked.
That's true.
They said, hey, this goes on all the time.
Yeah.
We just got a video of it, right? We're not surprised.
I saw that happen last week.
I saw that happen last week, you know. And so as a profession, we said, well, we implemented body cams so that people can see what's going on. So if we have an incident, the public will be able to see that. But what did we do as a police agencies, right?
Yeah.
We said you can't see the tape. We're not gonna allow you to view the video. Yeah. We have it,
right,
but you can't see it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know
that erodes trust.
That erodes trust, right? And so a lot of agencies now have recognized what we're talking about, and so they've kind of gotten rid of those policies that says that well, you can't see it. You know, depending on the department, they have different levels of how you can view it.
Yeah.
But I think there's a recognition now. If we got something, there's video of it, we just need to put it out there, right? And if we as an agency messed up, we just need to say we messed up.
Yeah.
And then
that
talk
goes
about
a long way of building trust.
Yeah.
Admitting that you did wrong.
Yeah.
And you're trying to fix the issue.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the position that we have to take. That's the position that we have to be in, where there's full transparency. We have nothing to hide. We're going to have employees that mess up. We don't want them to mess up.
Yeah.
They're not taught that way. They're not trained that way. But it could happen.
Right.
And when it does happen, we need to hold them accountable. We need to be transparent about it. And people need to see us holding our own employees accountable.
Right.
And not feeling like that if they come down and file a complaint on a police officer, it's just going to go and file 13. Nobody's going to do anything about it. And we don't, because then that says we don't care about the community.
Yeah. Speaking of community and caring, what's your opinion on community policing? Helpful?
Yeah, you know, I remember when you said that, I just had a thought. I was in when we first introduced community policing in Arlington. I was tasked by my then chief, David Kunkel, to put together a program, and we're going to teach the concepts of community policing to our department, and that went over like a lead balloon, right?
What's that?
Yeah, people were not feeling what I was saying, right?
Yeah.
You know, and then the comment that I would constantly get in class was that, you know, well, this feels like that you're saying that the customer is always right, and the customer is not always right. The customer is not always right, but we should want to hear what the customer says.
Yeah.
They're our customers, and you know, when I use that word, I got all kind of feedback. They're not our customers, blah, 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 you know.
But that's a good analogy.
It's a good analogy, but we as a profession weren't trying to hear that, right? Yeah. We weren't embracing that, and I think I told you about a time where we had gone out into community one day, and they were having burglaries and some other issues in the community, and we had spent quite a bit of time focusing on those pieces.
Yeah.
And we drove down those crimes quite a bit. And so, you know, we're smart. We're going to throw a community survey out there that's, now that we've cleaned this stuff up, right, that shows that we have high approval rating in the community.
5 stars.
Yeah, we're going to get 5 stars, right? We've gone out here and done some good work, right? So we throw the survey out there and they kill us, right? I mean, we're like, well, what happened? And so they said, well, we appreciate you taking care of those issues that you identified, but those not the issues that we care about, right?
Yeah.
We got prostitution over here. We got people hanging out in front of these stores. There's vandalism taking place. Y'all didn't do anything. So my point is, we looked at it through a lens as police officers, looking at statistics and numbers, but we didn't go into the community and really talk about the things that they cared about. Because if we had addressed the issues that they cared about, then we would have taken care of those things that they mentioned to us. And so when we're talking about community policing, that's what we're talking about. We're just talking about digging in and having a dialogue and recognizing that we're not just a police department, but we're part of the community.
Yeah. How do you reconcile what the department wants versus what the community wants?
Well, they should be the same. They should be the same. Because I can't want something and you not want that, and vice versa. I mean, so there should be the same, and the only way we can get to that place is having conversation, so that we can be on the same page about those things that are important.
Yeah.
And so those other things that we address, those could be ancillary things that we see that could lead to other bigger issues that could impact what the community sees, but we should be addressing both.
So that's when dialogue comes in.
That's when dialogue comes in.
You find out what's ancillary and what's not.
Right. And then we dig into what the people actually want, because there's the real crime, the statistics and stuff that we look at, but then there's also people's perception of crime, and I have to deal with people's perception of crime too, and that could be
that perception of crime.
Well, if you,
I don't want to make any assumptions.
No. But if I'm looking at an area, right? I'm a police chief, and I'm looking at this community over here, and people are complaining about whatever they're complaining about, right? And so I look at the area, and I run the statistics, and I don't see a lot of crime in that area. So I could stop right there and say, well, their complaints are not, valid, because we don't have a lot of stuff going on over there.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just the reported crime. What's not being reported.
Right.
And why are they not reporting it?
Yeah.
And so then they feel unsafe in their community. And maybe they haven't been victimized personally, right? But they have a perception that it's not safe here based on a lot of factors. And so it's their perception of crime. And so I have to address their perception. So the only way I can do that is have a conversation.
What's interesting, there's an old saying, perception is 100% reality.
It is. It absolutely is. And if you perceive that you live in a neighborhood that's unsafe, it's unsafe.
Yeah.
Because that's how you perceive it.
Right. How do you
police
that?
So from my looking at it, if I'm looking at it statistically, I don't see that.
Yeah.
But what are the things that are making you feel unsafe in your neighborhood? And so whatever those things are, those are the issues that we need to address. And I'll give you an example, right? I had a community that was complaining one time because there was a location in their neighborhood where day laborers were gathering.
Okay.
And people were coming by and picking up the day laborers and taking them to work. Well, there was a perception in that community that the day laborers were driving crime in my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. They're there. They don't look like us.
Yeah.
They got to be up to something. They're doing things that are making this community unsafe. When I pull up to the gas pump to get gas, here are these guys that come walking around, and I feel unsafe because now what they're doing is walking up and asking, "Do you have any work for today?"
Right.
But that may not be the way that a female who's pulling up to get gas perceives that.
Right.
She may feel very uncomfortable with guys walking up to her car. So even though they're not committing crime, there's a perception there that their presence is causing crime in the neighborhood. Right. So even though they're not committing a crime, I still have to address people's perception of that.
Yeah.
And so there are a number of things that I could do to address that. I could make the day laborers go away. I could address the people who are coming up to purchase their services, and so what we ended up doing, we displaced that, So now we displaced it. We made it go away here, but
it moved someplace else.
It moved someplace else, right? And so you recognize that when you do that, I eradicated it, and I made the people here feel better.
Yeah.
But it's gonna pop up somewhere else that I still have to address it. So in that particular situation, what I did, in recognition of that, we had a unemployment facility where people could go and get jobs, and so we made a partnership with that place, and kind of designated that area for those laborers to go.
Okay, that was Insightful.
Yeah. So they're looking for work.
Yeah.
So we want to do it through a process that protects them, because here's the other thing, right? The day laborers that are going out to work, there's no protection for them.
Yeah.
There are a lot of times they will go out, complete a job, and wouldn't get paid. There are times they go out on a job, they get hurt.
Yeah.
There's no protection, for that.
Yeah.
There were instances where they were were asked to go someplace, and crimes were committed against the day laborers.
Yeah.
So there, even though there's no protections for them. So in recognition of that, that's why we got them with an agency that could to have the people who are employing them be vetted.
Yeah.
So that we're protecting them in that particular situation. In today's climate, I don't know that would necessarily work.
Right.
But a few years ago when we were dealing with that, that was an acceptable solution.
That's fascinating. You explained when I said it was insightful, because people think of policing as gun, cop, arrest, all this other stuff. But seems like what you described is you guys are a department of solutions.
Problem solvers.
Problem solvers.
Yeah.
You saw a problem. It didn't
Right.
take a gun, handcuffs, going to jail. You contact an agency to help the community.
Right.
That's
Well,
very insightful.
think of it like this too. We're problem solvers, right? So if we solve the problem, that reduces the need for a call for service for us.
Yeah.
Right. And if we can reduce the calls for service, we're reducing crime.
Right.
And so we don't want to just be a responding police department. Just go to the call, take the report, and move on to the next.
Yeah.
We want to be problem solvers, and so that's how you reduce crime. That's how you reduce the fear of crime in neighborhoods, by solving problems that people have.
What are some of the tools with the AI boom and all that that helps you guys become more effective problem solvers and not put your life at risk?
We do take advantage of technology.
Okay.
There are a lot of instances you will see now where police departments deploy drones now. If they have a call in progress, a pursuit or burglary in progress, you got suspects on the ground. Before we can get there, we can get the drones over there, and the drones can see what's going on, and it tailors our response based on what we can see going on that in the past we wouldn't be able to see until we actually got on the scene.
Yeah.
And so it makes for a more efficient response, in some cases a safer response, because we can have eyes where we didn't have eyes before in ways a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And so it helps our response, and helps using that technology helps us to be better at what we're doing.
Right. Now, it's probably one of the toughest questions I'll probably ask you today.
Okay.
What does a good day of policing look like?
A good day is a very boring day. I start my day at the Dunkin' Donuts, right, and then a good day on the job is I'm being facetious, but really it's a boring day, right, where I'm going out doing more proactive things that I feel like are helping the community or helping me solve issues, and not saddled to the call load, where I'm going call to call, taking a police report, a burglary, a robbery over here, or whatever the situation is. Now I'm able to get out and talk to a business owner, talk about some of the issues that they got, and seeing how I can apply my resources to help them as a business owner. So those are the kind of things that I think are good days, for the cop on the street. For an administrator, a good day is not getting a phone call that we done did something we wasn't supposed to do. Or getting positive affirmations from the community, about other partnerships that we could have that will help them. And the list of the issues and things are just lengthy, in terms of this profession. But I think the more of a positive impact that we feel like that we can have, the more that we can provide transparency into our job, and
Yeah.
people understand we are human, we are people, and we have nothing to hide.
Right.
We will make mistakes, but when mistakes are made, we're going to correct them.
Yeah.
If people need to be fired, we'll fire them. If they don't need to be cops, I don't want them to be cops,
Right.
right? We'll get rid of them.
Because it makes the rest of the department unsafe.
Yeah. But if somebody's going out there and they just legitimately, it's one thing to be swinging, for the fences and you just make a mistake. It's another thing, intentional misconduct.
Right.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Out of all the things that you described and all the situation awareness that you try to prep your officers to be aware of, you discuss a lot of things dealing with mental health and how the support system that you set up is making a difference in some officers' lives, those who choose to take advantage of that. What is the one thing that you talked about today, or maybe you hadn't talked about today, that made you say, you know what, the career choice I made it was reassured or confirmed by blank?
I think when I reflect, right,
Yes.
and think about my career, and this may sound like a real simple thing, but this just happened yesterday.
Okay.
I was talking to a group of officers, and they were providing feedback on an issue, and one of the officers told a story about me that I didn't realize.
Okay.
That something I had done, and he talked about how that made him feel, and how that made him want to come to work, for my agency, and it was just a small thing, he said, right, and he said he saw me at a breakfast spot one morning, and he had applied for a position in our agency. He hadn't heard from anybody. And he said he talked to me about it. I don't remember the conversation, but he said he talked to me about it, and he said, and that day he got a phone call, and he said that meant a lot to me. He said, you could have just totally ignored me.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do anything. You could have just told me you'll check into it, not check into it, ask somebody to check into it, but I never heard anything. He said, and that has happened a lot in my journey to try to get a job.
Right.
He said, but on this particular occasion, I asked you about it that day. You told me you were going to check into it. He said, and that day I got a phone call. He said, that tells me what kind of person you are. That tells me what kind of department that I'm going to walk into.
Yeah.
And he said, and so when I got that call, I made sure I did everything I could to get a job in your agency. He said, and since I've been here, he said, that's who you are, and that's the work that you model for us, and that's what we strive to do.
Yeah.
To be people of our word and blah blah, all that, And he said, so when I hear stuff like that, that makes me feel good. I mean, I don't remember the conversation, but I'm glad that me being in my position could impact somebody that way,
right,
and make them feel that way about us. And so I'm hopeful that it's not just him, maybe people in the community, other people who work with me in the school district or in the city, have that same feeling about their interaction with me, and maybe the impact that I've had in terms of projects that we've worked on. So when I look back and I hear positive stuff like that, that makes me feel good and makes it feel like it was worth it.
Okay.
And then being called on from time to time to speak nationally on topics, I feel like that I'm doing something that I'm called to do. My voice is needed in a situation, and maybe I'm providing a service that only I can provide in that moment. to speak to a George Floyd situation, because I remember when that happened in Minneapolis. I was down on the TV set down there at Channel 8. They asked me to come on the set to talk about it. And I talked about similar conversation that we're having here about police relations and whatnot. And so I felt like doing that, in doing that, I was providing a service, maybe providing clarity on our work as police officers, and having people see a representative from the police department and understanding that we feel you in the community, and we recognize that situation as an ugly situation too. So maybe if people heard that and could connect the profession somehow as something that we wanted to be more noble, or we were just as repulsed by that. If somebody heard my comments or heard that and they walked away from that thinking, maybe all cops are not bad,
Right.
then maybe I have provided a service or something that I was called to do.
Yeah.
And because I think in this work there's a higher purpose. And so if I'm put in that position, I've always felt like whatever position I'm put in, God has put me there, right? And so I want to be a good steward of that.
Yeah. Well, you certainly have shown that you're a good steward, because you survived that second call. Became a police chief.
Yeah.
So, Chief Hawthorne, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Okay.
You're very pleasant to talk to and very insightful to talk to.
Okay.
And thank you for your words.
Oh, well, thank you for having me here.
You're very welcome. Folks, I hope you got a lot from Chief Hawthorne. As you can see, police officers are human beings. There are feelings, emotions behind the badge. And so I hope the next time that you have an encounter with police officers, you think about what they're thinking about. Like, is this going to be a bad call? Am I going to get to go home? Do I have to use lethal force because someone pulled out a cell phone when the officer tells them, let me see your hands? Just, just do what they comply, so both parties can go home. It's stressful for both parties involved, but you got to realize that police officers are not here to harm. They're here to help. And so that's why I wanted to do this podcast. Now, if you want to learn more about mental health and get mental health resources, go to my website, jumpintolife.com. There you will find a link to the Boris L. Henson Foundation. All you have to do is type in your zip code, and it will lead you to mental health resources in your community. So just share my podcast with other people, because you never know who may also want to hear some of the topics that I have recorded this season and last season. So thank you for your continued support. Until next time, bye-bye.